Cancer. It's a word that instantly brings a chill, a word we tie to fear, hospitals, and an uncertain future. But what if we looked past that fear, just for a moment, and saw cancer for what it is on a purely biological level? It's a complex, almost rogue process happening inside our own cells. It's a story of internal rebellion where the body's most precise systems sometimes fail. The truth is, every single one of us carries cells with the potential to grow uncontrollably. The real questions are, why does it happen, and how does our body fight back? Let's dive into the biology of this disease, not to fear it, but to understand it. At its core, cancer is nothing more than abnormal, uncontrolled cell growth. Every day, billions of cells in our bodies divide. They repair tissues, heal wounds, and keep our entire system in balance. Normally, these cells follow strict chemical and biological signals that tell them when to divide, when to stop, and what to become. But sometimes something goes wrong. Those signals get garbled or ignored, and a cell starts dividing without any limits. These rebellious cells don't play by the rules. They ignore the signals telling them to stop. They dodge the body's self-destruct mechanism called apoptosis, and they start building masses of tissue that the body can't control. We call these masses tumors. Not all tumors are the same. Some are benign, meaning they grow slowly, stay in one place, and are relatively safe. Others are malignant, and these are the ones we truly worry about. They have the ability to invade nearby tissues and metastasize, which means they can spread to distant parts of the body, creating new tumors. As scary as this sounds, tumors are also a fascinating biological phenomenon. They show us just how delicate the balance between growth and control really is. How many mechanisms have to work perfectly to keep us healthy, and how a small error can lead to something completely unpredictable. You've probably heard a few different terms thrown around: neoplasm, tumor, and cancer. It can get confusing, but each word is very specific and tells us something different about what's happening in the body. Let's break it down. Neoplasm is the broadest, most scientific term. It literally means new growth and refers to any abnormal, uncontrolled multiplication of cells. It's an umbrella term that covers everything, whether it's benign or malignant. So anytime cells go rogue and start dividing when they shouldn't, you have a neoplasm. Then there's the word tumor or mass. This is more of a clinical or physical term. It simply means there's a detectable lump or swelling of tissue created by that excessive cell growth. A doctor might find a tumor on a scan, like in the liver or breast. But the word tumor itself doesn't tell you if it's dangerous, it just tells you that something is there. Only a closer look, usually with a biopsy, can determine if the tumor is benign or malignant. And that brings us to the word cancer. This term is reserved specifically for malignant tumors. To be even more precise, it usually refers to malignant tumors that come from epithelial cells. Epithelium is the tissue that lines the surfaces of our body, both inside and out. It's in our skin, lungs, intestines, breasts, and kidneys. This is why cancer can arise almost anywhere. The name itself comes from the Latin word for crab, because ancient physicians thought the spreading, finger-like projections of a tumor looked like a crab's claws digging into the surrounding tissue. Cancers are always malignant. They invade their environment and can metastasize. This is why the word cancer carries so much weight in medicine. So, to recap, a neoplasm is the general biological process of abnormal growth. A tumor is the physical mass you can see or feel. And cancer is the dangerous malignant form of a neoplasm that can invade and spread. Understanding these differences isn't just about medical jargon. It's crucial for clear communication between doctors, scientists, and patients. It helps everyone understand the diagnosis, the treatment plan, and what to expect. In medicine, words have incredible power, and here, they help us define both a threat and a fascinating biological story. So, what's the real difference between a benign and a malignant tumor? It goes way beyond just growth speed or the risk of spreading. Think of a benign tumor as a well-behaved, self-contained island. It's usually well-defined and separated from the healthy tissue around it. Its cells still look a lot like the normal cells they came from, and they grow in a limited, predictable way. Often, their growth slows down or stops completely once they reach a certain size. In many cases, a person can live with a benign tumor for years without even knowing it's there. The only time they become a problem is if they grow in a tight space, like the brain, where they can press on vital structures. Malignant tumors, on the other hand, are biological anarchy. Their cells have thrown out the rulebook. They ignore signals to stop growing, they cheat death by avoiding apoptosis, and they become disorganized, behaving completely independently of the body's needs. This isn't just about local overgrowth. It's about active destruction. Malignant cells can produce enzymes that dissolve the tissue around them, allowing them to invade and conquer. And their most defining dangerous feature is metastasis. This is when cells break away from the original tumor, travel through the blood or lymph system, and set up new colonies in other organs. They can even manipulate their surroundings to create a more favorable environment for their own survival. From a treatment perspective, this difference is everything. Benign tumors can usually be removed with surgery, and once they're gone, they're typically gone for good. Malignant tumors are a whole different battle. They require a complex, multi-pronged attack. Maybe surgery, followed by radiation, chemotherapy, immunotherapy, or targeted therapies. And even then, their behavior is hard to predict. Malignant cells are dynamic. They can mutate, develop resistance to drugs, and learn to hide from the immune system, allowing them to persist in the body for a long, long time. In short, benign tumors are contained and predictable. Malignant tumors are pure chaos, aggressive, invasive, and a true challenge for modern medicine. This stark contrast shows just how thin the line is between normal cell life and a disease that can threaten the entire body. So where does it all begin? How does a perfectly normal cell turn into a tumor? It all starts at the most fundamental level. Inside our DNA, our genes contain the complete instruction manual for our cells, regulating everything from growth and division to repair and ultimately, death. In a perfect world, these instructions would never have a typo. Every cell would know exactly when to divide and when to stop, but our DNA is not invincible. Every single day, it takes a beating. It gets damaged by radiation from the sun, toxins in our environment, simple errors when it copies itself, or even invading viruses. Now, don't panic. Most of this damage is no big deal. Our cells have incredible DNA repair kits. They're constantly proofreading and fixing mistakes. And if the damage is too severe to be repaired, the cell has a failsafe. It triggers apoptosis, or programmed self-destruction, taking one for the team to protect the whole organism. The real problem arises when mutations hit specific critical genes. These are the genes that act as the brakes on cell division, known as tumor suppressor genes, or the ones that act as the accelerator, called proto-oncogenes. When a tumor suppressor gene is damaged, it's like the brakes on your car failing. The cell just keeps going. When a proto-oncogene is mutated into an oncogene, it's like the accelerator getting stuck to the floor. Cancer development is almost never a single sudden event. It's a slow multi-step process that can take years or even decades. The first mutation might not cause any visible changes. The cell might still look and act mostly normal, but then another mutation happens, and another. With each hit, the cell's behavior changes just a little bit more. It starts dividing faster. It learns to ignore the stop signals from its neighbors. It figures out how to avoid apoptosis. Eventually, after accumulating enough of these critical mutations, a single cell finally breaks free from all control. It starts dividing relentlessly, forming a tiny clump of rogue cells. Over time, this clump grows into a microscopic tumor, which can then learn to invade nearby tissue and, eventually, spread throughout the body. This process highlights the incredible resilience of our bodies, but also its vulnerabilities. It's a constant battle between damage and repair, between control and chaos, happening inside of us every single moment. Understanding this journey from a single DNA mutation to a full-blown tumor is the key to developing better ways to prevent, detect, and treat this complex disease. Cancer isn't just bad luck. Many factors can push our cells toward uncontrolled division. Some are natural, some come from our environment or lifestyle, and they often pile up, increasing the chances of DNA damage. Radiation is one of the most direct risks. X-rays, gamma rays, or cosmic rays can literally break our DNA strands. Even UV radiation from sunlight can cause changes in skin cells. That's why skin cancer rates are higher in places with intense sun. Then there are chemicals and toxins. Think tobacco smoke, compounds in processed foods, heavy metals, or pesticides. They can get into our cells and either trigger mutations or supercharge cell growth. Some chemicals are directly cancer-causing, while others just make our tissues more vulnerable. In the past, things like asbestos became notorious symbols of this environmental risk. Viruses and infections can also be a cause. Certain viruses like HPV, hepatitis B and C, or Epstein-Barr virus can insert their own genes into our cells. This disrupts the normal rules and stimulates uncontrolled growth. Some of these viruses can work silently for years, slowly building up changes that eventually lead to cancer. Lifestyle is another huge piece of the puzzle. A diet low in fruits and veggies, too much red meat, not enough exercise, obesity, alcohol, and smoking all significantly raise the risk. Chronic stress, hormone imbalances, and poor sleep can also weaken our body's natural repair systems. While all of us have cells that could potentially mutate, our environment and daily choices heavily influence whether those mutations stay harmless or develop into a disease. Often, these factors work together. For instance, smoking combined with air pollution and UV exposure dramatically increases the risk for lung or skin cancer. Understanding these risks isn't just about predicting the odds. It's about empowering us to make changes and lower that risk. It shows us that cancer isn't just a biological accident, but a result of genetics, environment, and our own decisions. The real drama of cancer development happens inside our genes. They decide whether a cell stays a team player or goes rogue and starts its cancerous journey. Two main players are in this game: tumor suppressor genes and oncogenes. Think of them as the brakes and the gas pedal of a cell. Tumor suppressor genes are the guardians of our genome. They're the brakes. They control cell division, check for DNA damage, and if a cell is too far gone, they trigger its self-destruction, a process called apoptosis. One of the most famous is p53, often called the guardian of the cell's life. When DNA gets damaged, p53 hits pause on the cell cycle, giving it time to repair. If the damage is too severe, p53 initiates the self-destruct sequence. When a suppressor gene mutates and stops working, the cell loses a critical safety feature. Oncogenes are the opposite. They are the gas pedal. They are mutated versions of normal genes called proto-oncogenes, which in a healthy cell only stimulate growth when needed. When a mutation turns a proto-oncogene into an oncogene, the cell starts dividing uncontrollably, ignoring all the stop signals. Oncogenes can also help cancer cells hide from the immune system, survive on limited nutrients, or invade nearby tissues. The road to cancer usually begins with a single cell that collects mutations in these key genes. This cell stops listening to growth signals, divides faster than its neighbors, and starts to form a tiny cluster, the seed of a tumor. Over time, more mutations make things worse. The cells become more aggressive, start invading nearby tissues, and even create their own growth signals. As the tumor grows, it develops more genetic changes, allowing cells to survive in harsh conditions like low oxygen or attacks from the immune system. Some cells might even break away from the main tumor, travel through the bloodstream, and form new tumors in distant parts of the body. This is called metastasis. This is how a malignant tumor is born from a single cell that lost control over its own DNA. What's fascinating is how this process is both predictable and unpredictable. We know which genes are often mutated and the stages of tumor growth. Yet every person's cancer story is unique. It shows just how delicate the balance of cellular life is, and how one small error can turn a single cell into a life-threatening mass. Malignant cancers are not all the same. They differ based on where they start, how they spread, and how aggressive they are. Even though they all share the trait of uncontrolled growth, their biological profiles are incredibly diverse. Understanding these types helps explain why treatments and outcomes can be so different. The most common malignancies are carcinomas, which start in epithelial cells. These cells line the surfaces of our body and organs, so carcinomas can develop almost anywhere: lungs, intestines, breasts, or skin. They are known for invading surrounding tissues and spreading to other parts of the body, making them one of the most dangerous cancer types. Sarcomas are much rarer and originate from connective tissues like bone, muscle, or fat. They often grow deep inside the body, so they can go unnoticed for a long time. Because of where they grow, they often require complex surgery, and treatments like chemotherapy might not be as effective as they are for carcinomas. Leukemias are cancers of the blood and bone marrow. They don't form solid tumors. Instead, cancerous cells circulate in the bloodstream, messing up the production of healthy blood cells. This can lead to anemia, a weakened immune system, and bleeding problems. Treatment often involves chemotherapy and sometimes a bone marrow transplant. Lymphomas start in the lymphatic system, our body's defense network. They can begin in lymph nodes, the spleen, or bone marrow. The symptoms can be subtle: like swollen lymph nodes, fatigue, or fever, but they can also progress very quickly in more aggressive forms. So, while these are all malignant cancers, each type has its own identity. Carcinomas affect surfaces, sarcomas destroy structural tissues, leukemias spread through the blood, and lymphomas attack our immune system. This diversity shows just how many faces cancer can have, and why research needs to be just as complex, with each type requiring its own unique strategy for treatment. But here's some good news. Not all abnormal cell growths are dangerous. Benign tumors are a completely different story. They grow in a limited way, don't invade other tissues, and don't spread. While they might cause some issues depending on their size and location, they're generally not life-threatening and can be treated successfully. Adenomas are a common type of benign tumor that starts in glandular cells. You can find them in the colon, thyroid, or liver. What's interesting is that they sometimes retain the function of their original tissue, maybe producing extra hormones, which can cause some local problems. They usually grow slowly and are clearly defined, making them easier to remove surgically. Lipomas are benign tumors made of fat tissue. You'll usually find them just under the skin. They feel soft, movable, and are typically painless. They grow very slowly, and the risk of them turning into a malignant tumor is extremely low. Even though they aren't a direct threat, their presence might call for a checkup because in very rare cases, some benign growths can transform into malignant ones. Benign tumors show us that uncontrolled cell growth doesn't always lead to a catastrophe. It's a fascinating look at how cells can escape the body's strict control but still remain predictable and manageable. In the world of benign tumors, the fear is much less, but understanding them helps us appreciate what goes wrong when cancer cells break all the rules. There are many ways to classify tumors, but one of the most fundamental is the tissue origin of the cells they come from. The type of tissue determines the tumor's biology, aggressiveness, behavior, spread, and treatment strategies. Tissue-based classification explains why tumors in different organs behave so differently, even though they share one core feature: uncontrolled cell growth. Think of the body as a city with different neighborhoods. The first and most common neighborhood is made of epithelial cells. These cells line our skin, our organs, and our glands, acting as our body's protective barrier. Tumors from this tissue are called carcinomas, and they are by far the most common type of cancer you'll hear about: lung cancer, breast cancer, colorectal cancer, you name it. Carcinomas have a tendency to invade their neighbors and spread to distant locations, but their aggressiveness varies wildly. That's why a fast-growing lung tumor is a completely different beast from a slow-progressing skin cancer that can often be removed with a simple surgery. Now, let's move to a different part of town: the structural framework. This is where connective tissues live: muscle, bone, fat, and cartilage. Tumors from this neighborhood are called sarcomas. They are much rarer than carcinomas, but they are often highly aggressive. Because they grow deep within the body's structure, they can stay hidden for a long time, making them difficult to spot early on. Think of osteosarcoma in bones or liposarcoma in fat tissue. While they're less likely to spread than carcinomas, when they do, the fight gets much tougher. Finally, we have the city's transport and defense systems, our blood and lymphatic networks. Tumors here are leukemias and lymphomas. Unlike the others, these often don't form a solid lump. Instead, they flow through the body. Leukemias start in the bone marrow, flooding the system with abnormal blood cells and disrupting everything from oxygen transport to our immunity. Lymphomas arise in our lymph nodes, weakening our body's defense headquarters. These cancers show us that a tumor isn't always a visible mass. Sometimes it's a silent, destructive takeover of our internal systems. Let's look at a few examples from the most common group, the carcinomas, to see just how different they can be. Lung cancer is often discovered late and is strongly linked to smoking and pollution. Breast cancer, which comes from glandular cells, can spread to bones or the liver, but early detection through mammography dramatically boosts survival rates. Then there's skin cancer, like melanoma. It might start as a tiny, harmless-looking spot but can become one of the deadliest cancers if it decides to spread. And colorectal cancer often begins as a slow-growing polyp, which gives us a golden opportunity to remove it before it ever turns malignant. So you see, knowing the tumor's origin isn't just a label, it's a key to understanding its strategy and how to fight back. One of the most frightening things about cancer is its stealth. It can grow silently for years before you or your doctor ever notice a thing. Initially, cancer cells can multiply so slowly that they form microscopic clusters that do and cause pain or disrupt how your organs work. Your body often doesn't even register that there's a problem. Why? Because these clever cells can hide within tissues and even trick the immune system into ignoring them. They create their own little supportive bubble, a microenvironment, that helps them thrive without setting off any alarms. In these early stages, they aren't yet invading surrounding areas or messing with blood flow, so there are no symptoms to report. This is exactly why paying attention to your body's early warning signs is a lifesaver. Things like a new lump, a skin change that doesn't go away, persistent bleeding, chronic pain you can't explain, or sudden, unexplained weight loss. None of these automatically scream cancer, but they are your body's way of saying, hey, something's not right here. Let's get it checked out. When you do get it checked out, doctors have an amazing toolkit to see what's happening inside. Imaging like CT scans, MRIs, and PET scans can locate a tumor, measure its size, and see if it has started to spread. But a picture alone isn't enough for a final verdict. The gold standard is a biopsy, where a tiny piece of the suspicious tissue is taken and examined under a microscope. This tells doctors the exact cell type, how aggressive it is, and even its genetic secrets, which can guide a personalized treatment plan. Doctors also look for tumor markers, substances in the blood or urine that can signal the presence of cancer and help track how well a treatment is working. Of course, the best way to fight cancer is to stop it before it even starts. Regular screening is our best defense. Mammograms can find breast cancer when it's tiny and treatable. Colonoscopies can find and remove polyps before they ever have a chance to become colorectal cancer. And regular skin checks can spot melanoma early. Beyond screening, prevention is about smart lifestyle choices. Not smoking, eating a healthy diet, staying active, and protecting your skin from the sun. These aren't just feel-good tips. They are powerful, science-backed ways to lower your risk. Now, let's talk about what makes cancer so dangerous, its ability to spread. This transforms a local problem into a full-blown crisis. A key part of this process is something called angiogenesis, the creation of new blood vessels. A tiny tumor can get by on the existing blood supply, but once it grows bigger, it gets hungry for more oxygen and nutrients. So it sends out chemical signals that tell nearby blood vessels to build new branches that feed it directly. This private delivery network allows the tumor to grow much faster and also provides an escape route for cancer cells to travel to other parts of the body. This journey is called metastasis, and it's the most challenging part of fighting cancer. The process is incredibly complex. First, there's local metastasis. Cells break away from the main tumor and use special enzymes to chew through the surrounding tissue, invading their neighbors. This can cause pain or pressure as the tumor pushes on nerves or blood vessels. This is the first step in its expansion. But the real danger is distant metastasis. This is when cancer cells get into the bloodstream or lymphatic system and travel to far-off organs. It's a tough journey. They have to survive in the bloodstream, dodge the immune system, and find a welcoming new place to land. Once they do, they set up a new colony, a secondary tumor. Different cancers have preferred travel destinations. Breast cancer often goes to the bones and liver, while colorectal cancer frequently spreads to the liver. Metastatic cells are often a modified, more aggressive version of the original. They can be more resistant to drugs, divide faster, and be better at hiding from the immune system. This makes treating metastatic cancer incredibly difficult. That's why so much research is focused on understanding and blocking metastasis. Scientists are developing targeted drugs that stop cells from invading, or treatments that cut off their blood supply through anti-angiogenesis. By blocking every step of this deadly journey, from local invasion to distant settlement, we can hopefully turn cancer from a life-threatening disease into a manageable one. It all comes down to understanding the enemy's playbook. Have you ever wondered how cancer, which starts in one small spot, can spread throughout the entire body? It's not a random, chaotic process. Cancer cells are cunning hijackers, and they use our body's own highways, the bloodstream and the lymphatic system, to travel and set up new colonies. Understanding this journey is key to fighting the disease. Let's start with the bloodstream. Imagine a bustling superhighway. Normally, it carries essential supplies like oxygen and nutrients. But for cancer, it's an escape route. Tiny cancer cells break away from the main tumor, squeeze into a blood vessel, and get swept away by the current. This journey is incredibly dangerous for them. They have to survive the crushing force of blood flow and dodge attacks from our immune system. Most don't make it. But the few that do can be devastating. They might get stuck in tiny blood vessels in a distant organ, like the liver or lungs, then push their way out and start growing into a new tumor. This is how a localized cancer becomes a systemic disease. Then there's the lymphatic system. Think of it as a quieter, parallel network of country roads. It moves a fluid called lymph, which contains immune cells. The flow here is much slower and gentler than in the bloodstream, making it a safer travel option for cancer cells. Often, the first stop for these traveling cells is a lymph node. Lymph nodes are like little police checkpoints designed to filter out invaders. When cancer cells get trapped there, the lymph nodes can swell up. This is often one of the very first signs that a cancer has started to spread, and it's a critical clue for doctors to understand how advanced the disease is. But the truly terrifying part is something called micrometastases. These are microscopic clusters of cancer cells that have already spread to other tissues but are too small to be seen on scans or cause any symptoms. They can lie dormant, like sleeper agents, for months or even years. Then, for reasons we're still trying to fully understand, they can suddenly wake up and start growing, causing the cancer to come back long after a patient thought they were cured. This is why you hear about cancer recurrence. It's not necessarily a new cancer. It's often these hidden micrometastases finally making their presence known. Because of this ability to spread silently, fighting advanced cancer requires more than just removing the primary tumor. Doctors need strategies that can hunt down and destroy these microscopic outposts throughout the body. This is where treatments like chemotherapy, targeted therapy, and immunotherapy come in. They travel through the body just like the cancer cells, aiming to eliminate every last trace of the disease, both visible and invisible. The battle against cancer isn't just about fighting a tumor. It's about controlling these intricate, body-wide networks that cancer has learned to exploit so masterfully. Now, let's shift gears and talk about why some people get cancer in the first place. Is it just bad luck, or is something else at play? The answer often lies deep within our DNA. Genetics plays a huge role, both through random mutations that happen during our lifetime and through genes we inherit from our parents. You see, our cells have a rulebook for how to grow and divide, and this rulebook is written in our genes. Some genes act as brakes, called tumor suppressors. They tell cells to stop dividing or to self-destruct if something goes wrong. Other genes act as accelerators called oncogenes, telling cells when to grow. Cancer happens when mutations damage these genes, causing the brakes to fail and the accelerator to get stuck down. Most of these mutations happen randomly as our cells divide over the years. But some people are born with a faulty copy of a crucial gene. This is what we call hereditary predisposition. It doesn't mean you will definitely get cancer, but your risk is significantly higher. Think of it like starting a car race with one of your tires already slightly damaged. You might still finish the race without a problem, but you're more likely to have a blowout along the way. A famous example involves the BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes. Inheriting a mutated version of one of these significantly increases the risk for breast, ovarian, and even prostate cancer. That's why you sometimes see these cancers running in families, appearing in multiple generations and often at a younger age than usual. Another gene, TP53, is like the master guardian of our genome. Mutations in it can lead to a wide range of cancers, often in childhood or early adulthood. But here's a crucial point. Having a genetic risk is not a death sentence. It's a heads-up. It gives you the power to be proactive. Lifestyle and environment are the other half of the equation. Someone with a BRCA mutation who maintains a healthy weight, exercises, avoids smoking, and gets regular screenings might navigate their entire life without ever developing cancer. Their healthy choices help protect their cells from that second hit, the additional mutation needed to kickstart cancer. Sometimes cancer runs in a family, even when we can't find a specific known gene mutation. This suggests that there are still undiscovered genes out there, or that the risk comes from a combination of many different genes, each with a small effect, interacting with shared family environments or habits. It's an incredibly complex puzzle. Understanding your genetic risk is empowering. It allows for personalized prevention. If you have a strong family history of cancer, genetic counseling and testing can help clarify your risk. This might lead to more frequent screenings to catch any problems at the earliest, most treatable stage. In some high-risk situations, people might even consider preventive medications or surgeries to dramatically lower their chances of getting sick. So cancer isn't just a random event or a simple case of bad genes. It is a dynamic interplay between the genetic hand we redealt and the life we choose to live. It's about how our environment, our habits, and random chance interact with our unique DNA. Have you ever wondered what really happens when someone fights cancer? One of the fundamental pillars of cancer therapy is surgery, the removal of the tumor and, whenever possible, a margin of healthy tissue. Think of it as the most direct approach. When a tumor is found early and hasn't spread, surgery is often the very first step. The goal is simple but crucial: remove the entire tumor, along with a small margin of healthy tissue around it, just to be safe. This not only gets rid of the immediate problem, but also dramatically lowers the chances of the cancer coming back. The type of surgery really depends on where the cancer is. For something on the surface like certain skin cancers, the procedure can be relatively straightforward. But for cancers deep inside the body, like in the lungs or liver, it's a whole different ballgame. These surgeries are incredibly complex, requiring meticulous planning. Sometimes surgeons even use minimally invasive techniques, like laparoscopy, where they operate through tiny incisions, which means less pain and a faster recovery for the patient. Surgery isn't just about removal, though. It's also a detective. The tissue that's removed gets sent to a lab for a biopsy. This is where scientists look at it under a microscope to figure out exactly what type of cancer it is, how aggressive it is, and if it has any genetic markers. This information is like a roadmap that guides the rest of the treatment. In many cases, surgeons will also remove nearby lymph nodes. This helps them check if the cancer has started to spread and gives a clearer picture of the disease stage. Of course, surgery has its limits. Sometimes a tumor is wrapped around a vital organ or is in a spot that is just too risky to reach. And if cancer cells have already traveled to other parts of the body, surgery alone won't be enough. That's where our next pillar comes in: chemotherapy. Chemotherapy, or chemo, is a systemic treatment. That means it travels through your entire bloodstream, reaching every corner of your body. This is its superpower. It doesn't just attack the main tumor. It hunts down and destroys any stray cancer cells, called micrometastases, that might be hiding out, ready to cause a relapse later on. So how does it work? Chemo drugs are designed to kill fast-growing cells. Cancer cells divide much more rapidly than most of our healthy cells, which makes them a prime target. The drugs interfere with the cell division process, damaging their DNA or breaking the machinery they need to multiply. Because not all cancer cells divide at the same time, chemo is usually given in cycles. This strategy allows the treatment to catch different groups of cells as they enter their growth phase. The biggest challenge with chemo is that it's not perfectly selective. It can also affect our healthy, fast-dividing cells, like those in our hair follicles, stomach lining, and bone marrow. This is why chemo is famous for its side effects: hair loss, nausea, fatigue, and a weakened immune system. But here's the good news: modern medicine has gotten really good at managing these side effects. There are supportive drugs and strategies that help patients feel much better and maintain their quality of life during treatment. Chemo is used in a few different ways. Sometimes it's given before surgery to shrink a tumor and make it easier to remove. This is called neoadjuvant therapy. Other times, it's used after surgery to wipe out any leftover cells. That's adjuvant therapy. And for cancers that have already spread, chemo can be the main treatment to control the disease and extend life. Now, let's talk about our third pillar, radiotherapy, also known as radiation therapy. Unlike chemo, which is systemic, radiotherapy is a local treatment. It uses high-energy beams, like X-rays, to target the tumor with pinpoint accuracy. Imagine a highly focused spotlight, shining only on the cancer cells and their immediate surroundings, while leaving the healthy tissues nearby as untouched as possible. Radiotherapy works by damaging the DNA of cancer cells. When the radiation hits the cells, it causes tiny breaks in their DNA strands. This disrupts their ability to divide and grow, and eventually it leads to their death. Just like with chemo, cancer cells are more vulnerable to this damage because they divide so quickly. Radiation is a versatile tool. It can be the primary treatment for tumors that can't be removed with surgery. It can be used before surgery to shrink a tumor, or after to clean up any remaining cells. It's also incredibly valuable for palliative care, where the goal is to relieve symptoms like pain caused by a large tumor pressing on nerves. Modern radiotherapy is incredibly advanced. Technologies like IMRT, or intensity-modulated radiotherapy, allow doctors to shape the radiation beams to match the exact form of the tumor, delivering a powerful dose to the cancer while sparing healthy organs. Of course, there can still be side effects, like fatigue or skin irritation in the treated area, but these are usually temporary and well managed. Often, these three pillars, surgery, chemo, and radiation, are used together. Chemo can make cancer cells more sensitive to radiation, creating a powerful 1-2 punch. A patient might have surgery, followed by a course of chemo or radiation to ensure the best possible outcome. But the story doesn't end there. We are living in an incredible era of medical innovation, and the landscape of cancer treatment is being revolutionized by two new players: immunotherapy and targeted therapies. These aren't just incremental improvements. They represent a whole new way of thinking about how to fight cancer. Let's start with immunotherapy. This approach is amazing because it uses the power of your own body. Your immune system is your natural defense force, constantly on the lookout for abnormal cells. But cancer is sneaky. It can develop tricks to hide from the immune system, like putting up a "don't attack me" sign. Immunotherapy works by essentially unblinding your immune cells. It blocks the signals that cancer uses to hide, allowing your T cells to recognize and attack the tumor. It's like giving your internal army the green light to go to war. Then we have targeted therapies. These are the smart bombs of cancer treatment. Instead of chemo's carpet bombing approach, targeted drugs are designed to attack a specific vulnerability within the cancer cells. Scientists can now analyze a tumor's DNA to find unique mutations or proteins that are driving its growth. Then they can use a drug that specifically blocks that target. The real beauty of these modern treatments is personalization. Cancer is not one disease. It's hundreds of different diseases. With genetic testing, doctors can now tailor a treatment plan to a patient's specific type of cancer. This precision medicine approach maximizes effectiveness while minimizing harm. Of course, these new therapies aren't a magic bullet. Cancers can be clever and develop resistance over time. That's why the future of oncology is all about combination. A patient might receive surgery to remove the bulk of a tumor, followed by a targeted therapy to block its growth driver, and immunotherapy to empower their own body to finish the job. Cancer research is one of the most exciting and fast-paced fields in medicine today. The foundation of cancer research lies in animal and cell models, which allow observation of tumor development under controlled conditions. In the lab, scientists use cell cultures to watch cancer up close, observing how cells multiply, die, and react to potential new drugs. This allows them to test thousands of compounds on a microscale long before they ever reach a human patient. It's like having a microscopic battlefield to test new weapons. Then, we have animal models, like genetically modified mice. These are crucial for understanding the bigger picture. They help researchers see how tumors grow inside a living organism, how they build their own blood supply, and how they spread to other parts of the body. These models also reveal how tumors cleverly evade our immune system, providing vital clues on how to fight back. One of the biggest breakthroughs has been in understanding cancer's genetic blueprint. Most cancers start because of mutations, tiny errors in the genes that control how our cells grow, divide, and repair themselves. By studying the complete genome of a tumor, scientists can pinpoint the exact genes that have gone rogue. This knowledge is revolutionary because it allows for the creation of targeted drugs. Instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, therapies can be personalized to the unique genetic profile of a patient's tumor. Imagine a smart bomb that only targets cancer cells, leaving healthy ones alone. That's the promise of personalized medicine. This genetic deep dive also helps us find new markers to diagnose cancer earlier and predict how it might behave, giving doctors and patients a powerful advantage. But the future of cancer treatment looks even more like science fiction. Researchers are exploring experimental therapies that use cutting-edge technology to outsmart cancer. Nanotechnology, for instance, allows for the creation of microscopic vehicles that deliver powerful drugs directly to the tumor, minimizing the harsh side effects of traditional chemotherapy. Then there are oncolytic viruses. These are specially engineered viruses that have a unique mission to infect and destroy cancer cells while leaving healthy cells unharmed. As a bonus, when these viruses burst the cancer cells, they alert the immune system, triggering a powerful attack against any remaining tumor cells. We're also seeing the rise of gene therapies, which aim to fix the mutated genes inside cancer cells, or even introduce new genes that force them to self-destruct. While many of these strategies are still in clinical trials, they represent a radical new hope, especially for cancers that have resisted all other forms of treatment. And we can't talk about fighting cancer without talking about the immune system. For decades, scientists have studied how our bodies naturally fight off invaders. This research led to one of the most exciting fields in modern medicine: immunotherapy. We've learned that cancer can sometimes hide from our immune cells, putting up a shield that makes it invisible. Immunotherapy drugs work by tearing down that shield, essentially unleashing the patient's own immune system to recognize and attack the cancer. This approach has already transformed the treatment for several types of cancer, turning what were once grim diagnoses into manageable conditions. The ongoing research in this area is all about understanding the intricate dance between cancer and our immune defenses, finding new ways to tip the balance in our favor. But fighting cancer isn't just a battle fought in a lab or a hospital. It's also a profound psychological and social challenge. For many, a cancer diagnosis brings a wave of intense fear. It's not just fear of the disease itself, but fear of pain, of losing independence, and of the unknown. This anxiety is often fueled by dramatic stories we see in the media and a general lack of understanding about how far treatments have come. The word cancer can feel like a heavy weight, making it incredibly difficult for patients to process their situation and make clear-headed decisions about their care. This is where psychological support becomes absolutely essential. Support groups, therapy, and specialized counseling can help patients manage their anxiety, find a sense of control, and learn to navigate the emotional roller coaster of treatment. The role of family and friends is just as critical. Their presence, understanding, and emotional support can dramatically improve a patient's quality of life. Studies have even shown that feeling supported and connected can positively impact the body's immune function, while stress and isolation can have the opposite effect. In this journey, loved ones are a powerful part of the healing process. And this extends to society as a whole. Public education is one of our best tools against fear. The more people understand about cancer, its causes, prevention, and the reality of modern treatments, the less room there is for myths and misconceptions. We need to move away from the outdated idea that cancer is always a death sentence or that someone is to blame for their illness. Knowledge empowers us and fosters a more compassionate environment for patients. Despite all the progress, the social stigma surrounding cancer still exists. In some communities, a diagnosis can lead to feelings of shame or isolation. People might fear losing their job or their social standing. Overcoming this requires a conscious effort from all of us. It means changing the way we talk about cancer, focusing on support and empowerment rather than fear and tragedy. We need to create a world where patients feel understood and embraced, not excluded. The journey with cancer is a powerful reminder that healing happens on multiple fronts. It's a biological fight against rogue cells, but it's also an emotional and social one. True success in overcoming this disease depends not just on groundbreaking drugs and therapies, but on the strength we find in knowledge, the comfort we get from support, and the empathy we share with one another. Thank you for watching.